Hello everybody, today I thought it'd be a good idea to bring you along, whether it's a good idea or not, I'm going to bring you along in one of our meetings. So it is now 2021 yet, and we're into right at the end of November, and it's a good time for us to try and recap everything we've done for the year. So I do have some figures that I can't be real transparent with everybody on, but you'll get the idea as we go. So in the process, over here, these are key people. These are key people that we have in our meeting room on a daily basis. They don't smile much, do they, Terry? There you go. That's Terry, that's Josh, that's Dawn. Jeremiah's on the camera, and of course, yours truly. So, to begin with, this is a good time of year for us to reflect on the things that we've done in this year, things that we can improve on, things that need to be improved on, and maybe some things we don't want to do at all, okay? We try all kinds of marketing. This meeting is going to be, I just wanted you guys to see how we actually go through some of our stuff. So this meeting is going to be strictly about the mosquito police business, all right? And we're going to talk a little about that and about how our season went. So just to give you a breakdown of what we basically did, we set a goal for ourselves. And Terry, do you remember what that goal was?
We wanted to double.
Wanted to double the customers we had the year before, right? We want 100% growth is what we wanted. What we ended up getting was 85% growth. That's what we ended up getting, okay? Now, there were several reasons for that, and that of which we're going to get into. When I look at some of the figures, the girls will run like these stat sheets that they have for me here that we're not going to just get real in depth on, but I'm just going to go over a couple of the numbers that really stuck out to me that were bad. And one that sticks out is horrible. It was 1% of our sales was Facebook. Okay, so when we look at Facebook, it's a downfall for us. It's something that we should have gotten better. We should have got it nailed down, and I'll tell you, everybody knows we've had a problem with this. We hired someone that we thought was going to do it for us, and it turns out they didn't do it for us, and they ended up getting us banned from Facebook because they tried, God only knows, they tried to put some ads on there that weren't supposed to be there. So Facebook was clearly a problem last year, and we were kind of in the heat of the moment last year. I mean, we hired this person because we thought she would do a good job. She didn't do a good job. She was horrible at it, and in the end, this is the end result. We got 1% of our sales from Facebook. So, that's horrible. Google was 4.71%. Coasters that we did, 1.81%. The mass mailings were 1.02%. All of those things are horrible. But one of the things that I did line up on and I thought was really important for us was the signage. All the different signs that we use. We use the 4x8 signs, we use the 3x4 signs, and we use our yard signs, okay, the 18-inch by 24-inch. So all those combined brought us a total of 66%. Okay, so those did really well. They did well for us. Where we clearly lack on social media. This is where we're hurting. So, can anybody tell me, aside from the fact of her, we hired her, that was a mistake, we shouldn't have done that. What's the importance of social media? Anybody know?
Well, pretty much everybody's on social media these days.
Everybody's on it these days?
Pretty much everybody, yeah.
There's, the old way of doing things still works. So we do a lot of door hangers, we do, a lot of these little postcard type things that we hang in everybody's door. That still works for us. But the social media end, you're right, everybody's going to that.
Yeah.
Doesn't it seem like it gets flooded though, at times? I mean, doesn't it seem like, I'm never on Facebook, so I really don't know what that's like. Is it one ad after another, or what is it? What gives? Do you know?
I don't think it's too flooded now.
No? Well, it's something that we're going to try. We're gonna dig into it a little bit more. But 85%, we wanted 100% growth, and we ended up with 85%. Does anybody here think that could be improved on?
Definitely.
Terry, what do you think?
I'm sure it can. I still think 85% is amazing.
That's a good
I mean, I don't think any business expects I think 30% is the average growth expectancy per year. So, I mean, we did really good, not that we couldn't have done better. You know.
Right. So to make up that other 15%, there's so many things we can do better. There's so many things. And I just, believe it or not, setting up at my tree stand over hunting season, I thought up a bunch of these things. And I looked at them and I'm like, man, there's so many things that we could have done better this year that we didn't do. And I'm going to start out with the very first one, and that we don't pay enough attention to this. And that's why we're going to pay attention to it moving forward. And the reason to have this meeting now is that so when we do hit the year, come spring, all of these things that we're implementing, all of the sales things that we're trying to come up with, come spring, they're all set up and they're all ready to go. That's where we failed last year. We failed on social media marketing. We're going to do way better on that this year. So one of the first things is going to be Facebook, right? What else? Social media. You're the social media guy. What else should we be focusing on? What do you think?
Twitter, you need to get a LinkedIn account set up. And focus more on the YouTube as well.
I don't know how to spell LinkedIn. How do you do that? LinkedIn, like that, I think, isn't it?
Something like that.
Something like that. What was the other one you said?
YouTube.
YouTube.
Try to grow that as well.
Right. YouTube. Okay. I don't know a ton about Facebook, but I know everybody and their brother's on it. So I know a lot of people are using it. We can utilize it too. Twitter, same thing. The most that I know about Twitter is Donald Trump gets in trouble all the time for going on there and mouthing off. LinkedIn, I know, is good for business owners. I get requests all the time from LinkedIn to get on there. And it's business owners, and if you think, well, why would we want to advertise to business owners? Well, why wouldn't you? Because our market is for working people.
Right.
I'm not going to advertise, I don't want to advertise to the little old lady that's on Social Security that can't afford our services anyway, right?
Yeah.
Right? So we're going to focus more, that's why that's important to us.
Yes. It'll help us get more employees as well in the future.
Sure, I'm sure it will. So those are things that we can do. What else can we do? What about Instagram? Somebody talked about Instagram.
Big Instagram too. I think Instagram's more targeted at images, pictures and stuff.
Okay.
Do advertising on there, I would imagine.
It's got to be big enough because there's a lot of people that go on there.
Yeah. Well, I know
It's famous.
I think they're tied in with Facebook.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure Facebook.
Yeah, so even if it was just images of our vans or of our signs or of even our postcards, any sort of marketing, we could do any of that stuff, right? All right, so that's social media, right? Is there anything else that I left out there that anyone can think of? Instagram, we got that. I know one, pay-per-click advertising.
Yeah, Google Ads.
Pay-per-click, which that's
That's part of it.
pay-per-click is your Google Ads,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
What was that other thing we talked
The
about?
local services is the other one.
Local services?
Local services
What's
through
local
Google.
services?
It's another form of advertising through Google. It shows up in your Google searches.
Yeah, like when you search, I think it's when you search a certain term, it brings up businesses related to that area.
Okay.
And the Google guarantee was the other thing.
Right, so Google guarantee. All right, so the Google guarantee, that to me, from what I can see of it anyway, we went and we looked at it this morning, they just put a little green circle there with a little check in it. And apparently they make people believe, I guess, something of the sort that, what, it's a guaranteed service, like if they're not happy, they'll...
It's, I think that there's a limit, it's like up to $2,000, and it's solely up to Google's discretion whether or not they'll refund the service. So like a customer could call Google and complain, say they're dissatisfied with their service.
Yep.
And Google can decide whether or not to refund them.
Okay. But it's all things, and we figured, what, that's like, what, $600?
$600 a year.
600 a year?
Like $50 a month.
That's cheap, I think, if we can do that just for the ad placement, because it brings it up. All right, so all of these things, this is where we really hurt last year. We suffered terrible. We didn't do any pay-per-clicks. We didn't do any of these things. I mean, she tried to get us on a couple of things. It didn't work out. There's a lot of things that we can do better. YouTube is another one that we're going to work on because that, I can see the relevance of that, because when people go on there, if you look for mosquito control near me and you type that in, and an ad, people are trying to figure out how to stop mosquitoes, right? So they're Googling that, is there a home remedy I can use? And our ad just keeps popping up time and time again in front of them. Maybe it's like, yeah, get your estimate right now, so we can utilize that. All these things from the internet point of view, social media, this is one way we can attack things. Anybody have any other ideas on how we can attack the problem of not growing by leaps and bounds? And I know 85%. My issue has always been, I want to double everything I did. And I know it's always a high hope, and it's always it's always a reach. 85% is good. There's, where you and I are a little different. 85 is good. It's very good. But when I look at it as a failure because I want to be better than that. I want to be bigger than that because my goals are to double everything I do every single year. If I have 100 customers this year, I want 200 next year. Next year, I want 400. Next year, I want 800. That's how I want my business to grow, if not faster than that. Maybe unreasonable, but we've been able to make it grow pretty fast so far.
Yeah.
And the better we get at all these things, the better we're going to be at marketing, and which is getting customers, right? So, one thing that I learned early on is if you don't market, you don't spend money on this kind of stuff, you're not going to get any of these results, and you're going to grow way slower.
You lose out on a lot.
Lose out on a lot. We got to adapt to the world around us, and that's what it is right there, right? All right, there's another thing, referrals. All the time. We got to work on referrals. We are not getting, I know we're getting referrals. Terry, do you have the number on the referrals that we had last year or not?
We had 8.9% of our sales were from referrals.
8.9% of the sales. So less than 10% of our sales were from word of mouth, basically. Right? So we can beat that. We can work on that. We need to come up with a better program to make that happen. And it might be to reward them with more credit, give them a $25 credit or a $50 credit if they refer their neighbor or whatever it is. We can work on that to make it better. Our guys can maybe when they're out there doing their 10 rounds on the houses, maybe they could just be, we could have our postcards made up and just be slapping those in the door for referrals. Besides the emails. Currently, they get emails? Is that it?
No, well, they're told that there's such a thing, and it's on all their invoicing and their treatment records that there's this referral credit.
Yeah.
The person they refer to needs to sign up and pay for a season before that referral credit is given, however.
Right.
So that, otherwise you have people, I referred you to John Smith down the street. We never hear from John Smith, we don't know that.
Right, we don't even know who that is.
So there is a requirement to actually give the referral credit,
Right.
but yes.
But we got to work on it to get it better. Less than 10%. I don't know. How do you feel about that? It's less than 10%.
Yeah, well, I don't think that's terrible. I'm sure there was more than 10% that referred, but only 10% actually got the credit.
Right. We can only go after what we know,
Right.
which is what you're telling me,
Right.
what the number is on our reports here.
Yeah.
Right? So, you have all kinds of things. The sign credits for the 18 by 24s, they're 9.68%. 4x8 signs, 0.24%. But here again, a lot of those things, when we talk about the percentages, that doesn't tell the whole story, because a lot of them see the 4x8 signs on the road as they're coming into their lake houses, and then they see all the people who are actually doing them that we have as customers already, so they're seeing the 18-inch by 24-inch, and then when they get to their house, they pull up our door hanger, as soon as they walk up, our door hanger is sticking in the door. So we hit them 3 times before they even got there. We can do even better than that, and you can go all over the book. Everybody says, I heard last year, you got to hit people like 7 times before they'll buy from you. And then other times I hear it's 3 times, and other times I hear it's 5 times, and I don't even know what to believe. But I know the more you hear them, I'm going to give you one quick example. I was in the office one day, and a person was calling, and they had her on speaker, and we were listening to her, and when the girls asked her how she heard of us, which everyone should ask every customer how they heard of you, that way you know where your marketing dollars are working, okay? So if they always tell you, oh, it was a door hanger, when it came up, there was a door hanger in my door. Well, I know that my door hangers are working. If I don't ask that question, I don't know. So our people in the office are trained to ask that question every single time. How did you hear about us? So this woman says, well, I don't know how you couldn't hear about you guys. We saw one of your big 4x8 signs or whatever on the road coming into the lake, because we focus on both ends of that road. And they saw that. They saw all the neighbors that are using our service currently. Then they got to their house, they had a door hanger jammed up in their door. After that, they went down to the local tavern for a fish fry on a Friday night. They headed down there, and what did they find? They found our coasters sitting in the bar. So they're like, you guys are like all over the place.
Yeah.
That is exactly what we want to hear from everybody. We don't want to be Ted's Tree Service over here with little bitty writing on a sign that you can't read, and there's one of them within a 10-mile radius.
Right.
You know, that's not us. We want to be plastered all over the place. That's why we put the money into the signs the way we do. Okay? All right, so referrals, we'll continue to work on that. Let's see, what else do we have here? LinkedIn, Twitter, we talked about that. The coasters to the bars, that's another thing. So the coasters. We get calls off of those often also. I think we can do a better job. And I know that there's a lot of people that are in the bars, and I've been in the bars when they look at those coasters, they're sitting in there with their drink, and you know, if they have no one to talk to or whatever, you're just looking at it. And people look at those and they take those, and we have bartenders tell us, yeah, people take them all the time. You know, and that's great. They're probably people that just call us, and then they might not say outright that, hey, it came off the coasters, but that's another hit that we gave them. What I did notice last year is that we were not getting to all the bars at all. We would go, when Jeremiah went out and we were trying to find sign locations, there were bars everywhere. I'm like, is that a bar? Is that a bar? There were just tons of bars, weren't there? They were just everywhere. Mm-hmm. And none of them had our coasters in them. We're like, come on, we're getting like 1/10 of the market. We got to be getting a hold of tavern leagues and getting those in there. We got to find out who's in charge of the tavern leagues in all these areas that we're working in, and we got to work harder on that. That's for sure. All right. Let's see. What else do we have on here? Flyers, the door hangers. Okay. Door hangers have been one of our mainstays forever. Everything from lawn care to landscaping to pest control. The door hangers work. They work because they're direct. I can tell you from being in Florida, everybody uses the door hangers so much that every day or every other day they come home and there's a door hanger on their door. So they get tired of it. It's almost like getting junk mail every day, right? And so we can do better than that. And up here, up north, when they do see it here, it's not like they get bombarded like they do down south. Here, to find a door hanger on your door when you walk home is a rarity. So that means it only gives them a few seconds, but that's all you need is to get their attention, right? We can get into a whole thing on door hangers, which we'll probably do later on, but right now, we need to do a better job of this. Here's where I know we failed last year. When we looked at, okay, for example, let me move this aside for a second. Look over here at these areas. You don't have to zoom in on it, just get a rough idea. But, so currently, up in Wisconsin, we have this entire northeastern corner blocked off. We're all over this place. The plan is to get the entire half of the state this year, and we're also going into Michigan, okay? So that's just this franchise, what I am working on right here, okay? So, when you look at this, and what we were doing, you'd find all your different properties that you focus on. It might be, you know, everybody knows we focus on the lake properties because lake people have enough money to afford your service. Everybody knows that. And so we focus hard on that. The other thing, some of the things we didn't focus on, was getting the people on the backside. So for example, if this was the lake, and we were getting all these houses that were all over the inside of this lake, what we weren't focusing on is and this is a road that goes around this lake, right? We weren't focusing on all the people that live on this side. Albeit not as many. We didn't touch these people on the outside of these lakes. And not only that, we only hit them once. right? We didn't, Terry, did we even get to all the lakes that we service?
We got to probably 99% of them
We got to about 99% of them. How many times did we get to them?
once.
Once. One time. And we expect all them people to call us, right? How's that gonna work?
Not very well.
It's not very well, because we need to be in their face so many times, and different times of the year. So it might be when the mosquitoes are really bad, obviously our mosquito door hanger needs to be out. When the ants start coming out bad, those need to be out. When the ticks are coming out bad, they need to be out. Those people should be hit like once every month with one of our cards for some type of service. So where we falter, hard and heavy, is right here with the door hangers. These have been our bread and butter for a long, long time. They're cheap, they're inexpensive. We find ways to make them move and get them out, but we're not getting them out enough. We've got to do it more. Have to do it more. And what does that mean? It means we have to have more people to do it, right? And that's everybody's problem today. We can't find the people to do it. Every time we try to hire them, they last a day or two or a week and they're gone, and then we're back to square one. And you waste all that time training them. So I think what my thought is this year is to get a Google of people, I mean maybe half a dozen people or so, to do nothing but door hangers all year round. That's all they do. That way they can get to those lakes 2 and 3 and 4 times maybe in all those areas that we're working on. Right? I mean, we got to do something. We can't keep doing what we're doing. You know, it's insane to think that you're going to get better at what you're doing if you keep making the same mistake over and over again. Okay, we get them there. What was our percentage? What did we get on door hangers?
Oh, just shy of 12%.
Just shy of 12%. So you're getting people on door hangers, but what would happen, so you know that 15% that I'm looking for that we didn't get last year? You can't tell me that we can't make that up right here on Facebook. You can't tell me we couldn't make it up on LinkedIn, Instagram, Google Local Ads, the Google Guarantee, the pay-per-click, the referrals, the coasters, the door hangers. What else do we have? We didn't do any print ads whatsoever.
No.
And I didn't realize the importance of the print ads, and I started, here's what happened to me. So we focus on all the lakes, okay? So, you know, there's a lake over here, there's a lake over here, there's a lake over here. We focus on those areas. But there's literally thousands of people that live in between these, okay? You couldn't possibly get the door hangers out to all these people. So print ads, like this, I wish I had one here. Do you have any here, Dawn, the shopper's guides or anything like that?
I don't. No.
All right, well, we had some, anyway, they're like your local newspaper, right? Maybe there might, yeah, right here, something like this. All right, so this is what everybody gets, filled with junk, which everyone throws away. But they will read this, because inside here, they have, you know, all your different ads for different things, and people will get in here and they will read this stuff, okay? We don't do any advertising in these print ads. And these are the things that go to every one of these thousands of houses that are in here, that are all around in here. These people get this. They all get this for free. And that's why they get it. So therefore, we got to do more advertising and print ads. And by more, I mean we didn't do any. So I think we need to step that up this year as well. So we're going to do some more print ads. Okay? I think that's important. Let's see what else we got here. Another thing we're going to work on that I think is important. I know over and over again we talk about answering the phone. How important is it to answer the phone when it rings? Who knows the answer to this one?
Extremely important.
You do?
Very important.
Why is it important?
Well, if you don't answer the phone, you're not going to get any customers.
Right. So, early mistake that we made early on, we would do some of these things. We'd have door hangers and referrals out, coasters, not the print ads, but we do different marketing things all the time. And then we didn't have enough people hired to answer the phones. So you'd come in the morning and there'd be either 8 or 10 missed calls on there, and then you call those people back, most of them don't even answer their phone. Here's what happens today. Everybody wants everything right now, this second. And I'm the same way.
Yeah.
So I've been conditioned by society, probably by this right here, the social stuff. So if I wanted mosquito control, I want it now. So I'm gonna Google mosquito control near me, okay? And if I Google that, whoever pops up, I'm gonna start calling. If I don't get someone on the phone on the first number I call, I'm gonna drop down to the next number. Do you think I'm gonna wait? Do you think I'm gonna leave you my information and hope that you call me back someday when it's inconvenient for me? No,
Probably
no.
never call you again.
Yeah, they're not gonna call you. You know why? Because they went to the next one in line.
Yeah.
So now they called your competition, and once they call your competition, if that competition, if they're good on the phone, they'll land them. They will land them right on the spot, right? So we never get that. And if we'd have just answered that call, we probably could have landed it, okay? We keep trying to make that better, and we have gotten way better. We've got a system now where the nice part about the system is if this phone rings over here and she's on it, it automatically will go to this phone. And when that phone rings, if he's on it with a customer, it'll automatically go to her phone and then over to Terry's phone and so on and so forth. That may be your actual system, but you get the idea. It automatically goes. So now you have 4 people in here that are constantly doing nothing but answering the phones, because you can do all of this and stick tens of thousands of dollars into all of this. And if nobody's answering the phones, you did it all for nothing. You did it all for nothing. So where we have dropped the ball in the past is answering the phones, and we've gotten way better at that, right?
Yes.
The thing I think we can do better at, besides that, is landing them. Landing the customer. So, we do a really good job. Once we get people in and we get them trained, we do a good job of answering their questions, right? The thing I don't know, and the thing I hear about all the time from other people is, they're like, don't let them off the phone. Don't let them off the phone, land them, make the sale happen, right? Grant Cardone talks about this all the time. A lot of these people talk about this all the time, but there's a fine line. There's a fine line between keeping them on the phone and landing the sale versus pissing them off and they never call you back, right? So during the winter, I'd like to work on that. I'd like to find a way to fix that so that we can, get them to the point, where we can land the sale. There's got to be a way that we can do it without being pushy. And I know we give them everything, and most of the time they'll call you back anyway, right? Or a lot of the time.
Yeah.
What would you say the percentages of that are, if you had to guess?
The ones that call you back, probably 90% of them are better, but most of them will tell you right then and there, yeah, let's do it, If they don't, most of the time, they're tire kicking.
Okay, so how do we land the tire kickers? Because that's 10%. You're telling me 90% of them will sign up on the spot.
Yes.
Okay, then what about the other 10%? I don't want them to go to my competitor.
No.
Maybe you can offer them like a one-time deal or something like that, Like,
Well, they do, though. We do have a new customer credit.
oh,
Yeah, but the competition does too.
there's gotta be something you can do or say to make them be like, oh.
Well, right, and that's something that we're gonna work on, okay? We got a long winter in front of us, these are all things that we can work on. But we gotta get better. The biggest thing is to get better and fix all of this. And we have the time to fix it. So, given these, what do we have, 5 months or so in the winter here, as long as we get the social part of it down, the referrals, we'll work on our program for that. The coasters, same thing, it's distribution. Door hangers, I have better, something I feel is gonna be beneficial to us, and that is using the segways around the lakes. Okay, because what happens is around your lake, here's your typical lake, the houses on the inside are stacked up like cordwood, right? Here's the main road that goes around this lake, and the houses on the inside are just stacked up like crazy, right? And so for you to drive around with your van, and you gotta drive there, get out, go up to the door, put it on the door, come back, get in your van, back up, go up the driveway, that takes a lot of time. So this is where the segways come in handy. So what I thought we'd do is go out with a 2-man crew, okay? So bring our van, so you've got an automatic billboard going there with you, and people don't think you're in there robbing their place, because you have mosquito police all over your van. So A, you got a moving billboard. B, you look professional. And C, one guy hops out with the Segway and say he starts right here, and he's headed into this lake. He's gonna take the inside. The guy in the van, your partner, will be, these driveways out here are farther apart. They're always farther apart, okay? So there may only be 100 houses out here on the outside of this, but there's 300 houses on the inside. You know what I mean? Van, it's not, he's got longer drive time in between these here.
Right.
So if he just takes that van and drives up there, he can get on it. He can get on the gas and he can keep moving too. Then if you're Segway, my thought on the Segways that I use and we've used in the past, brand new out of the box, you get like 4 hours on it. And so in a half a day, you're going to be out, half a day or less, depending on how hilly the terrain is around our lakes. So you'll have 2 of them. We're going to put charging stations right in the vans so that they can charge. So as soon as one Segway runs empty, it can be plugged in the van, and we're going to give you a brand new one, and you continue on your way.
Right.
Okay, so all you got to do is show up, and whatever address your scooter, your Segway runs out of juice, you call in that address, call the guy in the van, and say, dude, come to this house, I'm empty. He rolls up, gives you another one, or replenishes your door hangers, or whatever it might be. We have to get more efficient at getting the door hangers out. If we want to get them out to, 3-4 times a year in front of their faces, we got to find ways to do it. And unless anybody can think of a better way than that, I don't know what it is, because it is time consuming. You've done them, you know what it is. It's time consuming.
Yeah, it is.
And so, and you can't even imagine doing these walking. It would be god awful. It's horrible. You'd never get anything done. We did them on scooters. We did them on 4-wheelers. We did them with golf carts. The Segways are so fast. They'll go 3 times as fast as you can walk. So plus they're quick. You can whip right up to the door. A lot of times you don't even have to get out the Segway. You whip up to the door and you stick it in there and you just whip right back on out of there. So anyway, that is that. Talked about the bars, the print ads we talked about, landing the leads. So I guess to end today's little conversation about this, it was nice to know where we landed last year. We landed at 85%. We wanted 100. Did we have problems? Of course. We have problems like everybody else. And our biggest problem, I would assume everyone would agree with me on this, well, let me just ask. What's our biggest problem when it comes to getting a lot of these things done? Who knows what the biggest problem is?
Finding people
Yeah,
to
people to work.
Every one of you said the same thing, finding people to work.
Yep.
If we can't find people to work, if that's what we're going to keep running into, which it seems like we will, then it's going to pay to stick more money into those Segways, so that, I mean, those aren't cheap. Those are like $1,000 a pop.
Yeah.
So it's going to pay to put those in the vans, the charging stations in the vans. We got it now. We're having our own software made now, so that's going to help a lot with different things too, right? I mean, that's going to be a big deal.
goal, yeah.
Yep. So we got a lot of good things coming. So we'll just continue to work towards them. But I just wanted to share what happened last year, the things I thought about when I was sitting up my tree stand. I was thinking about these things and like, how do we fix them? And each one of these is a whole separate video. Each one of these is a whole separate meeting. It really is. But this is what we do in the wintertime. We sit around here. We love on our dogs. If you see my babies, we got all over the place in here. And yeah, we just try to find solutions, right? So, that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave me your comments down below. Let me know what you guys are doing to make things better in your business. If you can think of anything that I haven't covered here, by all means, I'd be happy to hear about it, and so would everybody else. Thanks for watching.